whether they put an address that actually exists, a fake address or whatever, there's a registration in the system. When it comes back to a name and an address that is not registered to vote in that county, it's going to be rejected. So this whole idea that there's some massive loophole in the system and people are just walking up and voting, it's false. It doesn't make any sense. Hello family. We're back with another video. I feel like whenever I talk about topics like this, I just have to clarify again and again that I truly do not believe in this two-party system. I am not a Democrat or a leftist in my heart of hearts, in my deepest self. This is something that exists in the reality. These are the cards that we're dealt. You know, there is no other alternative that exists readily available now. So, you know, I'm not too delusional to act as if that this is not the mode by which I have to traverse the political reality. That's the only option that we have, is one of these two parties at this given moment until we, come to a better solution together. But I do truly believe that this two-party system is another mechanism of this dualistic reality that is meant to force us to split, choose, pick a side, polarize, left or right, red or blue, exact opposites. None of it is real. I do not adhere or subscribe to this on a deeper level. If we take all the layers off and all the masks away, this is the last thing I would be talking about. But again, this is just how I traverse this political reality when I come down to that level. With all that being said, a common trait that I am seeing on the right is this inability to accept new logic. This inability to just say, I was wrong. I was uneducated on this. You're right. I concede. All that while being extremely uneducated and typically spreading a more hateful rhetoric. So it's not like we're just disagreeing on pizza toppings. The things that you're saying and spreading are advocating for people's rights to be taken away, people to be removed from the country. As we saw before in a previous video, these beliefs are being used to justify the deaths of American citizens by the hands of the American government. And whole time you're, one, not well educated. You do not understand what you're saying. You don't have the true knowledge that would be needed to make an informed decision on this. And two, you're not even willing to accept the new knowledge. You're not willing to accept the new logic. You're not willing to be proven wrong. You have your beliefs, which are consistently wrong. You claim to be for logic, but then also refuse to accept any new logic. But that's what we see a lot of in today's video. And I love to hear you guys' takes on this. As you see, the title is Gen Z Commentator Humiliates Tomi Lahren with a Single Google Search. Video by The Special Relationship. Now, before we get into the actual video, I'm not sure if you know who Tomi Lahren is. If you don't, I want to show you a little clip from her. This is from when she had Crystal Ball on her show. If you don't know who Crystal Ball is, I recommend you give her a look, as well as Kyle Kalansky. They are very well informed, very passionate advocates on the progressive side. And again, this is when Tomi Lahren had Crystal Ball on her show. So let's see how that went.
Guys, the last thing I want to talk to you about is, because I'm about ready to do my commentary on it, but do you think Bad Bunny is a good choice for the Super Bowl?
I'm not that knowledgeable about him, but it seems fine, and I don't know why it's a big deal. Seems like a great American artist, so sure.
He's not an American artist, but
he's Puerto Rican. That's part of America, dear.
Yeah, you don't think you have any problem with him saying the ICE is, well, I'm sure.
And that in and of itself, right? So it's not a problem to be stupid, it's not a problem to be wrong, and instead of taking that information now and saying, oh, really? Because obviously either she didn't know that or she's just being willfully ignorant and spreading misinformation. Again, that's harmful to people because she's on this hate train for he shouldn't be on the Super Bowl because he's not an American. And either you didn't know that Puerto Rico was in America, or you did, or you're just being willfully ignorant. And again, instead of in real time saying, I didn't know that. Interesting. Thank you for telling me that. She just pivots, just moves on. And that's what you're going to see. They have two options. They either pivot to something completely different or new, or they just loop around. They loop around. They refuse to accept new logic and just loop around. And, it's frustrating. It takes a little bit of patience, but let's hop into this video and we'll talk about a little more of it.
The voter ID.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that we don't need to care about securing our elections?
That's not what I said.
Okay.
I don't know why you keep doing that. You're telling me this. I didn't say that we shouldn't care about elections. We should totally care about.
You
the
don't like to
of our
say
elections.
that because you think that women and minorities are too dumb to get.
I didn't say minorities once. I said
Okay.
over 100.
And I know we're just getting started, but something I want to point out here is those so statements. That is a key tool of their pivoting. You'll notice this particularly in these, political debates, whether you're having them or watching them, or even in your personal life when you're debating with someone or arguing with someone. When they start off with these so statements, that's typically a tell that they're not actually listening to you, because they'll take what you said, turn that into what they heard, and then turn that into a so statement like she did. So you telling me we don't need to care about voter fraud? So you're telling me you don't like the SAVE Act, because when that's not what he said at all, but that's what they heard. And then they're going to expect you now to defend that point. That's the key right there. When they hit you with that so statement, you need to do exactly what he did. I never said that. And I don't know what continues next, but I think he would even do better by steering the conversation directly back to what we were talking about. Because I'm not going to debate you now on something you created in your head, and that's their goal. They want to take you to some place of fantasy. So that's like if I say I don't like pizza, and you say, so you're telling me you hate Italians. And then I actually decide to argue that, like, no, I don't hate Italians. I try to provide data and go down that path. Like, no, I said I don't like pizza. I never said I hated Italians. And that's a tool that they will use to try to, again, pivot and throw you off the actual topic at hand. So then it divulges into some sensationalized argument about something you never said. But again, it's frustrating. I don't want to talk too much. Let's get back into it.
1 million Americans don't have active passports.
Okay. You
In
don't need a
states like-
passport to prove your citizenship.
Well, it's one of the methods that the SAVE Act
It's
would
one of
permit.
the methods, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
so-
not the only method.
No, it's not. I didn't say it's the only method. It's one of the methods. And the Social Security issue, I think that there's genuine issues there with all of these people coming to the federal government and say, I want to register to vote, but their names don't match on their documents. I think that can create issues. So what we should do instead is not follow this weird law that
So what
Republicans
should we
are
do
proposing.
instead?
We have very secure elections as it stands right
You
now.
think so? So you think someone just getting a ballot at their house and never having to prove they are who they say that they are and they just send it in, you think that sounds totally secure to you?
Not only is it secure, we don't have data to suggest that it's not secure.
I love it. We're not going to investigate it, but we don't
It's been
have any
investigated.
evidence.
I mean, but it's been investigated.
I would love, you know what I would love? I would love to close the door completely on voter fraud. And you know what else I would love?
Okay,
I would
great.
love
We
to
all would
keep,
love that.
here's two things that I would love.
And the thing here that I really want everyone to keep a grasp on when we're talking about this, if we're talking about it from a place of logic, is that there is no credible evidence from either undocumented immigrants or U.S. citizens of widespread voter fraud. It does not exist. This is quite literally a wild goose chase. This is just a narrative, an idea. And you'll see that she struggles to accept that, and that's where the loop starts in this video. But before I even continue, I just want to show that. So can you tell me the voter fraud cases in the last 50 years? Short answer, there have been voter fraud cases in the U.S. over the last 50 years, but they are relatively small in number, usually local and almost never large enough to affect election outcomes. As we look further, the bigger picture, across billions of votes cast, only thousands of fraud cases have been documented. Out of billions of votes cast, only thousands. This does not fit the narrative of millions and millions of illegal immigrants being shipped over here to then change the tide in elections. Look at these estimates. Look at these decimals. 0.00845%, 0.00014%. Like, again, key takeaway, fraud exists, but at a microscopic rate relative to total votes. So again, she's gonna go on here and continue to really push and debate that there is like we just need to figure it out. We need to figure it out. We need to investigate this. There's no data that supports that this needs to be investigated. So this whole thing is founded in a fallacy, founded in something that's not there. That's like saying, we'll continue, man.
That they are and they just send it in. You think that sounds totally secure to you?
Not only is it secure, we don't have data to suggest that it's not secure.
I love it. We're not going to investigate it, but we don't have any evidence.
I mean, but it's been investigated.
I would love, you know what I would love? I would love to close the door completely on voter fraud. And you know what else I would love?
Okay,
I would
great.
love
We
to
all would
keep,
love that.
Here's two things that I would love. I would love for us to have proof of citizenship required to vote in our elections, because only Americans should be voting.
Well, you got to do that anyway.
And, well, you don't.
When you register to vote, yes, you do.
You have to what?
You have to. Well, it depends. It's a state-by-state basis, but you have to prove that you're a citizen to vote.
So we already have proof of citizenship?
Yeah, when you register, but you're asking for
Well,
a
how do you
different
prove
thing
it
when
then?
you go
Well,
to
then
vote.
what's the difference then?
When you go to vote? Because most people register when they're 18. So they have the documentation, their social security number, most likely.
I thought you told me that they couldn't get that information, Harry.
No, I didn't.
How did they get it then?
I
And
did
now
not
they don't
once
have
say
it
that they can't get that information, but when you register to vote initially, you have to prove that you're an American citizen in order to vote. And this is every single state. But what you're asking for is every single election you have to prove that you're an American citizen.
Hold on. So in California, you automatically get put on the voter rolls.
She's going to go down a tangent here, but I just want to clarify or share my thoughts on the true issue behind the SAVE Act here. This is what anyone, who's genuinely arguing from good faith would say, is that, of course, safe and fair elections are the goal. There's no amount of widespread voter fraud that's being documented that will call for us to make such a large change. And the issue with this change is that a lot of people, or some people, maybe not, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's a small portion of people, but there's only a small portion of voter fraud, and we're willing to change this whole thing up because of that. So let's just say, even if it was only a small portion of people, but it's a significant number of people that would be impacted by this. And what this is the lack of access to the documents that would be needed to register to vote. And then if you didn't have those documents, let's say millions and millions of people lost their birth certificate or don't have X, Y, or Z, and they aren't registered, they have to re-register to vote. They're going to have to go to their local offices to get that documentation. And if millions of people across the country are trying to do this, it's going to back the system up. So, which would make it harder for everyone to vote. And again, if it was necessary, if there was so much voter fraud that we just had to do something about it, this would make sense. But the data does not support that we need to make such a drastic change and have people, because again, things happen. A lot of us, I luckily have my birth certificate, but I don't have my social security card, There's things like you just lose them over time. Things happen, right? So if you have to do this every single year, let's say you move or you get married or change your name or whatever, you have to take this step every single year to go and verify and fill out this information just to vote. It doesn't make sense given the information that we have. There's nothing to support making this drastic of a change. And, all the sensationalized arguments that are supporting it fall flat when you actually look into them.
Yeah.
As soon as you go to the DMV.
Good. Great. Yeah.
But illegals can get driver's licenses. So do you see the problem there with them automatically going the voter rolls?
If you have a driver's license that is assigned to an undocumented immigrant, you can't vote.
Well, how not? It's up to them to opt out.
It's not up to them to opt out.
No, it is.
Undocumented immigrants are not put on the voter rolls. It's not like you just walk into the DMV.
But you get put on as soon as you go to the DMV, you get put on the voter rolls in California. No, it is. Oh, no, it is, Harry.
It's just not true. Okay, then great. Let's just say it's true.
It is true.
But let's just say it's true. Do you have evidence that undocumented immigrants are voting widespread in California? Are we going to do this again, where I have to ask for evidence and you say it's just there?
How about we do this? How about California hands over their voter rolls?
To the federal government.
Why not?
Why would they do that?
Why would they not do it?
Why does the federal government have a right to it?
Well, because they got to see if the illegal.
I thought you guys were the party of small government.
How else do we investigate it then? You said, give me evidence. How else do I give you evidence if we don't look at the voter rolls?
You don't look at voter rolls just for evidence of voter fraud. There are instances that are reported by people at polling stations or whatever it might be.
So we should
and they're investigated mostly on a state level. So is the claim now that there's voter fraud in California, it's extensive, and California is just ignoring it? And if so, again, I'm going to ask you your favorite question. What's the evidence of this?
Well, we'd love to have the voter rolls so that we can look for that evidence.
So just to be clear, right now you're saying you don't have evidence.
We would like to see the voter rolls so we can show you the evidence.
I understand that you want to see the voter rolls, but right now you're saying you don't have evidence.
How would we get the evidence if we can't see the voter rolls?
See, but do you think that the only way to find voter fraud is getting the voter rolls?
I think that's probably the best way.
Okay, so then how did all these fraud cases in 2020 get caught, the 475?
I think that we could probably discover it a lot quicker if we had the voter rolls.
They were discovered.
Why don't
This is, again, it gets painful to watch. He's, I guess being gracious in this conversation and not trying to turn it into, an argument. But the answer to the question is, and this ties back, people are like, what's stopping an undocumented immigrant from voting in an election? You're registered to vote in your county, in your at your address. You have to go to your polling station. So an illegal immigrant or an undocumented immigrant, my apologies, is not going to. First of all, they simply wouldn't. They're not going to walk up to a polling place and willfully give up the information, and try to register to vote or put a name and an address down that actually exists that would lead back to anywhere that they're actually at, because that would lead to them being deported. So that's one. Two, if they did, whether they put an address that actually exists, a fake address or whatever, there's a registration in the system. When it comes back to a name and an address that is not registered to vote in that county, it's going to be rejected. So this whole idea that there's some massive loophole in the system and people are just walking up and voting, it's false. It doesn't make any sense. And she keeps saying, show me the voter roll, show me. States investigate voter fraud at a state level. And that's why he's saying, aren't you the party of small government? Like, why are you saying that each state should hand over their voter rolls to the federal government for investigation? So then the federal government can make their decisions on it when it's handled at a state level. This does not make any sense. This doesn't make any sense at all when you actually think about it. There is no widespread voter fraud. She's going to sit here, and that's why I get agitated. The rest of this video basically is just her going back and forth saying, show me the voter rolls. Well, show me the voter rolls. Show me the voter rolls. Show me the voter rolls. Like, dude, it was, oh my God, like just refusing to accept any new logic. Like, that's not how the law works. You don't get to just say, well, I think you committed a crime, so give me all your information. We're just going to walk into your house now and I think you got some drugs in here, so we're just gonna walk in and check to make sure you didn't. Like, no, that's not how that works. It's not how that works at all. And that's the rest of this video for the most part. It's just her getting proved wrong about it's annoying.
Why do you think it was?
Why don't you want to examine the voter rolls?
Because what are the voter rolls going to prove in your mind? Undocumented immigrants being on it or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
and dead
a
people.
lot of the voting.
Dead people.
Well, a lot of the. Actually, the dead people voting things. Number one, in states like Georgia, there were less than 10 cases in 2020. Number two,
I want to see their voter rolls too. I want to see everybody's vote.
I thought you were the party of small government.
No, I think we need to see what's on the voter rolls.
So you want big government?
I think we should look at the voter rolls.
Okay, but there's plenty of other ways.
What are the ways?
I'm happy to explain it.
You
so
just have a poll worker that goes.
No, when you're counting ballots.
But what happens if you have mail-in ballots? How do the poll workers flag it?
Well, so for example, with a dead person voting, when you're counting ballots, their existence is verified. Their living is verified. They have these systems that they go through, and they see, because you get a death certificate when you die.
I think we should look at the rolls. We should make sure that they're on the up and up.
You want small government, now you want all the voter rolls to be turned over to the federal government.
No, in that case, I think we need to look at our voter rolls.
Okay,
I think we need to look at them in every state, red states, blue states, I think we need to look at all of them.
Just to be clear, Tommy, you would need a reason to actually investigate these things. So you would need evidence.
We have a reason. Yeah, we think that.
What's your evidence? What's your reason?
Here's my evidence. I think illegal aliens are getting mail-in votes.
Okay, so why do you think that? See, this is a problem.
Why do I think that?
You can't just order investigations because you want to.
I think that when you go to the DMV and you get a driver's license when you're illegal and you get put on the voter rolls, I think that's more than enough reason why we should be looking at the voter rolls.
So they're not, again, maybe we'll just disagree on the facts of the matter. I know I'm right on this, that you don't just get added to voter rolls if you're an undocumented immigrant in California.
You have to opt out. It's up to them to opt out.
It is not. You do not have to opt out. You're not put on.
Yes, you are.
According to who?
Have you ever lived in California?
I've not. Have you?
Yeah, I sure have.
That's great.
So, yeah.
But according to who?
Okay, so when you go to the DMV, okay.
They do that as well, where they're going to lean on their anecdotal evidence. So, have you ever lived in California? Oh, well, I have. And that's why I'm the authority on this subject, because I lived in California. That's quite annoying to me as well. They love to lean, and I hate being broad with they. But far-right conservative MAGA people tend to lean on their personal anecdotal experience to justify a broader point. And that's quite annoying.
So in California, when you go to the DMV to get your driver's license, if you're an illegal, which I don't think you should get one, but you do, you get put on the voter rolls. So then that illegal alien would have to opt out. Okay? It's up to them to opt out.
You're explaining this again. I'm asking according to who?
According to that is how it works in California.
Pull it up. You have your phone right there. Pull it up.
Now, can you look up the voter rolls and DMV process for getting on the voter rolls in California?
I can do it.
Go for it.
So what's the question? Are undocumented immigrants automatically added? Are undocumented immigrants automatically
added to the voter rolls when they get their driver's license? You can look it up.
Let's see. The only website. How about a frequently asked questions website from the California.gov? Does that work? I don't know if it's going to contain what we want. That's the only thing or the first thing that came up. How do I know if I'm? How about this? How do I know if I'm eligible to register and vote?
Okay.
A United States citizen. Have a residence address in California, at least 18 years old, or you can register at 17 if your election day you'll be 18.
You got to opt out if you're an illegal.
But where does it? Pull it up then. Where does it say that? Right here, number 4. Can non-citizens register to vote? No.
It's up to them to opt out, Harry. They're not legally supposed to register to vote, but they get put on the voter rolls, and it's up to them to opt out.
I'm just
to
not
say, I am not a citizen.
It's not saying this on the website. On the California.gov website, it's not saying any of this. But
yes.
What kind of driver's license? Because the driver's license for American citizens and undocumented immigrants is different.
No, motorists. You get your driver's license. It's auto voter. It's called the motor voter program.
So do you think that American citizen driver's license are the same as the undocumented ones? There's a symbol on the
motor voter program in California. If you get a driver's license, you are automatically put on the voter rolls. Now it is up to the undocumented to opt out. That is true that they are supposed to opt out. They are supposed to say, I am not an American citizen. It is up to them to opt out.
Except it's just not saying that here. It's not saying that on the California. If you want to look through it, you can and find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. I mean, come on. I mean, what world are we living in where we really think that undocumented immigrants are registering to vote in California?
You really don't think that they're on the voter rolls?
That is not happening.
You really don't think so, Harry?
That's not happening. You know what? After this, you can tag Gavin Newsom on Twitter and you can ask him, or the press account.
Oh, I'm going to ask him?
Yeah, sure.
You think he? Oh, I'm going to ask the picture of honesty. I'll ask Gavin Newsom.
Sure. Yeah, I think he's pretty great.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
I lived in California and I moved to Tennessee, right?
Cool.
So I moved to Tennessee and I registered to vote in Tennessee. I vote in Tennessee.
Awesome.
I got a mail-in ballot from California sent to my Tennessee address.
Okay.
How the hell did that happen?
So you just don't fill it out.
Okay, so then it's just up to the honor system. Scouts honor.
As is society, it's up to you to
not
commit
crimes. So the honor system. I don't
wait, it's up to you not to commit crimes as well. It's up to you to not go out here and attack somebody.
When it comes to voting, I don't like the honor system. I would like to have a mechanism to make sure that only American citizens are voting.
But you have an honor system in society inherently. So with any crime, it's an honor system. You are expected to not speed. You're expected to not attack people. There is an honor system in every crime. So if you get a ballot that you're not meant to, you don't fill it out.
I think we trust, we trust and verify. I think we make.
And to be honest, this conversation is hard to watch. Like, I'm not going to drag you guys through it. If check out the rest if you want. It pretty much just loops into the same thing of her refusing to accept any further logic. On that last point there, again, when I say there, I mean, it seems like the far right conservative MAGA movement right now is very good at sensationalizing. Just everything's on an honor system. Everyone is held to an honor system with pretty much everything. No one's being monitored 24/7. Everything, we do, it's, everything's an honor system. You go to Waffle House, that's an honor system. You're supposed to eat your food and then pay after. You could just walk out. You don't just drive your car into crowds of people and stuff, like that's the honor system in action. Like, we just kind of trust that the pilot of the plane isn't going to just nosedive or whatever or do crazy stuff. Like, it's all on the honor system. That's all life is. But they'll take a normal human mechanism, a normal, a weak point that we've all accepted, a normal, a flaw in humanity that just exists, and try to exemplify that and use that to scare people into thinking that they need to take a certain action. And it's just interesting. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. If it invokes my thoughts, I may just buy you lunch. Thank you so much. Have a good one.